Okay, greetings all. I'm Kirtana B, AI researcher at BMS AL Lab. A quick introduction about me. I'm pursuing my bachelor's in electronics and telecommunication engineering from BMS College of Engineering, and I'm currently in fourth year. So, coming to the topic of today's webinar, it is to develop an artificial neural network from scratch. We will look at briefly about what are the takeaways from this webinar. So firstly, we'll know why are we actually building an artificial neural network from scratch. So what is the main reason behind building it from scratch? Next, we'll have a quick introduction about artificial neural network. So to the ones who already are familiarized with neural networks as well as who are new to it, we'll brief about artificial neural network. And then we will look into the theory behind artificial neural network. So to build any neural network from scratch, we need to know the theory behind it, because we are not using any built-in functions such as TensorFlow or Keras. We'll be using very basic Python libraries such as NumPy to actually code an artificial neural network. And then we'll understand ANN with an example. And for the same example, we'll develop a simple artificial neural network. So that is the overview of today's webinar. Coming to why an artificial neural network from scratch. So ANN is the building block of artificial intelligence. Any neural network will form the basis to artificial intelligence, may it be ANN or recurrent neural network or convolutional neural network. Why ANN is nothing but it is very simple, which actually solves problem related to tabular data. And then the more complex ones are RNN and CNN. So to understand neural network, we will go with artificial neural network. There are many deep learning libraries such as Keras, TensorFlow, PyTorch, using which we can build artificial neural network using within 2 or 3 lines of code. But then to understand the in-depth of artificial neural network is only possible when we build it from scratch. So anyone who is into data science domain, knowing the theory, knowing the working of a neural network is very important. So that is the reason why I chose to actually build an artificial neural network from scratch to actually understand the theory behind neural networks. So introduction to the artificial neural networks. ANN actually resembles the neural network that constitutes the animal brain, in specific the human brain, where the nodes of a artificial network will resemble that of a neuron in the real human brain. Each node or a neuron will process the input data and gives out some useful information. Nodes are arranged in layers with output of one layer, which will act as an input to the other layer. So we'll see, first we'll see the resemblance between the biological neuron and the nodes that we represent artificially. This is the biological neuron where dendrites will take the input values. So here x1, x2 till xn are the input values. It processes the data and then the output is through the axon terminal. So we'll now see how artificial neural network concept came into picture. So this is the artificial neural network where each input node, so here each input node is nothing but a neuron that we saw in the previous slide. So this is basically the neuron, and it has input as well as output. So here it accepts input as in case of dendrites, and it gives output as that of axon terminal. So here each node will represent a neuron and they are arranged in layers. We have 3 important layers. One is the input layer, the hidden layer, and the output layer. Input layer will take the input values, hidden layer will process the values, and then the output layer. Hidden layer is not always mandatory. We can have an ANN without hidden layer, that is just the input layer and the output layer. And such simple ANN is called as perceptron. we'll be developing a perceptron in today's webinar. That is, without any hidden layer, we'll develop a simple ANN which has only the input and the output layers. Coming to the theory behind artificial neural network. So artificial neural network is a supervised learning algorithm. That is, it has input and output. We have the input as well as the output. So both are defined and then the algorithm learns. If you are not having the output label, then it is unsupervised learning. So ANN is a supervised learning algorithm which has an input value as well as output value. How does an ANN actually work? It basically makes a random prediction between the input and the output value and then compares it with the actual output that we have defined. So difference between the predicted value from the ANN and the actual value is called the error value, and the error function is called the cost function. While training a neural network, what we do, our aim is basically to minimize the cost function, that is to minimize the error. We'll study the theory behind ANN using in two phases. So first one is the feed forward phase and the next is the back propagation phase. In these, we'll study each of the two phases in detail. Firstly, the feed forward phase. In this phase, they are made up of values of inputs and weights. So they are divided into steps. In the first step, what we do is we multiply the input values to the weights, add them together and add a bias term to that. So this is the basic equation performed by a node. We have input, that is x1, x2, x3 goes on, depends on the number of inputs, and the weight, the artificial neural network predicts this weight and then a bias term. So why do we need a bias term? Is that when we have all the input as zeros, say x1, x2, x3, all are zeros, the product is, the sum of the product is actually zero, and the number of times we run the algorithm, the value will remain zero, not having any value to the weight that is assigned to that input. So to avoid this, we basically use the bias term. And then this output, after we do the dot product, we pass it through an activation function. This is because the weights predicted by the ANN can be in any range. So when we sum and add them together, it need not be in 1 or 0, but the input is basically 1 or 0. So to get output value of the dot product between 1 and 0, we make use of activation function. And one such activation function that we are defining today is the sigmoid function. So we'll see what a sigmoid function is actually. So this sigmoid function is mathematically represented by this formula. We'll have a clear picture once we see the graphical view of the sigmoid function. Sigmoid function basically does this. So if we have anything, if the input is 0, then it will return 0.5. And when the value is very close to 1, if the value is very close to 1, if we have a large positive value, and then the value is very close to 0 if we have the negative value. So we'll see it through a graph. This is basically the sigmoid function. So whatever may be our dot product value, say it is a large positive number after multiplying it with the weights and summing it up, we then make sure that such large products are squeezed to 1. And if the product, if the sum of the product is 0, then it is 0.5, which is not in our case because we add the bias term. Then if we have a negative value, then it will be very close to 0. So this basically squeezes the values between 0 and 1, and that is why we use a sigmoid function. So this basically sums up the feed forward phase. We have the input that is summed, then we add the bias term and then pass it through the activation function. So the overall is we take the input, then we add some weight to it, that is 0.7, 0.6. It makes a random prediction. It need not be 0.7, 0.6. The ANN makes a random prediction and then multiplies it with the input values, sums it up, adds the bias term, and then passes through the activation function, and then we get the output. So this is the feed forward phase that the ANN takes place in a one direction. Next, we have the back propagation, which is important for the algorithm training. So in this step, the cost of the prediction that is made by the neural network is calculated. So what is the cost function? As I said earlier, cost function is basically the calculation of the error. The ANN would have already made some predictions and would have calculated the output values. What we do, we already have the output value since it's a supervised learning algorithm. So we find the difference between our actual output and the one predicted by the artificial neural network. So that gives the cost function. And one of the most commonly used cost function is mean square error. We can see in the equation. Here we have y cap. This is the predicted value. And then this is the actual value. So we find the difference between the predicted value and the actual value, and then square it up, sum, and then mean it, where n is the number of observations. So the most commonly used cost function is mean square error, that is used to find the difference between the predicted value and the actual value. Finding the cost function was the first step in backpropagation. So coming to the step 2, we need to minimize this cost. We have the predicted value, we have the actual value. When we find the cost function, that is finding the error, our main intention behind training a neural network is to minimize this cost, indeed minimizing the error. So minimizing this cost can be only through changing the weights that the artificial neural network had predicted, as well as the adjusting the bias value. So we can either change weight or we can change the bias value, and all others are beyond. We cannot change the input and the output values, which are fixed. So if we need to minimize the cost, we need to basically see to it that the weights and bias values are changed. And to minimize any function, we make use of one algorithm called gradient descent algorithm, which is basically used to find the minima of a function. So in this stage, we need to find the minimum loss. So loss is our function, and we need to find a minimum loss and the particular weight and bias value for which the loss is minimum. So we basically use gradient descent algorithm for that, and it is mathematically represented as given here. Here, Wj is the new value. To get the new value, we take the old value, and then from that we subtract the derivative of this function. J here is nothing but the cost function, that is the error that we have calculated. We need to find the derivative of the cost function, and the alpha is nothing but the learning rate. Learning rate defines how slowly our algorithm learns, how slowly the gradient descent algorithm learns. So we will see it through the graphical representation. So here, as we can see, we have loss and the particular weight on the x-axis, loss on the y-axis. We need to find a particular weight for which the loss is minimum. So to find this, we make use of the previous formula. We take a random value, say at this weight, and then we find the derivative of the loss function. Here, we find the derivative of this function, multiply it with our learning rate. We can see the derivative is positive here, From our algorithm, if the derivative is positive, then this sign turns out to be negative. I mean, this, okay, if this is negative, the overall sign is positive, and what we do is to the old weight, we add a particular value, so the weight increases. So the weight increases and then comes to a particular other value where it again finds the slope. It does this by making use of the learning rate. If our learning rate is small, this jump is small. Whereas if the learning rate is more, the jump is more, and we may miss out. There are some parameters to make sure that we don't have a long jump. So we make sure we fix a particular alpha training rate value so that we perform small jumps and find out where our minimum lies. So when we come at this point, our slope is negative. So uh, it basically finds out the minimum. Here, if our slope is positive, then it makes sure that it subtracts some weight value and comes back. So if our value is negative, it comes back to the point and make sure it finds the least value. That is the value of weight for which the loss is minimum. So that is the theory behind the artificial neural network. We are defining an example data set. For this, we will be developing an ANN from scratch. So this is a data set, a random data set considered. So it has 3 input values, that is smoking, obesity, exercise. And then diabetic will be the output value. So I'll have these 3 will form the input values. Input. And then whether the person is diabetic or not will be the output. So this is the random data set that we are considering. So it simply says that, for example, if the person doesn't smoke and if the person is obese and doesn't exercise, then the person can be diabetic. So that is what the data set is about. So we will be developing an ANN for this. So a simple perceptron, that is, as I told, it will have the input layer. So this is the input layer and this is the output layer. A simple ANN without any hidden layer is the perceptron. So we will be providing our inputs, that is smoking, obesity, as well as exercise details as input to the input layer. Then W1, W2, W3 are the weights that is predicted by the artificial neural network. What it does, we have seen in the feed forward phase, it basically multiplies with the weight, input and the weight, adds the bias term, and theta is basically the sigmoid function. That is the activation function, because is he diabetic or not should be in the range of 1 or 0. I mean, very close to 1 or 0, telling the person is diabetic, yes, is 1, or no, 0. So we'll pass it through the sigmoid function, which is that theta function over here. Then we have the set of output values which are already defined. We have defined the output values here. We will subtract the predicted value from the output, go back again with back propagation, and then find out what is the cost function. That is, what is the error, and try to manipulate these weights. In each step, we'll try to manipulate these weights and the bias such that the cost function has a 0 error. That is, we get the cost function to be 0, almost 0. So this is what we'll be building from scratch today. To develop this simple ANN, the steps that we need to follow is we need to define the independent and the dependent variable. So the independent variables are the input and the dependent variables are the output. So we need to define the input variables such as smoking, exercise, and whether he's obese or not. And then the dependent variable, whether he's diabetic or not. Then we define the hyperparameters. Hyperparameters are the random weights and the bias term. So the artificial neural network needs to get some random weight values and the bias term. So we'll be defining that. Next, the activation function and its derivative. Activation function that we have considered is sigmoid. We need to define that. And then train the model and make some prediction. After training the model, we'll make the prediction and check whether our artificial neural network is producing the required result. So I'll be explaining this in Jupyter Notebook. We'll code the artificial neural network.
So audience, any questions meanwhile? Feel free to ask any questions.
Okay. So we'll continue. So if there is any question, put it in the chat box. I'll answer it in the end. So building ANN from scratch. This is the code for building. We have seen the 5 steps in the PPT. So the first step is to define the input and the output. So here I think it's visible. Okay. So first thing will be defining the input and the output. We are not using any built-in libraries. So the library that we'll be using today is NumPy, the basic numerical library of Python. And then this is the data set that we have seen in the example of ANN. So the first is what was it about smoking, obesity, and then exercise. So we have defined it using a NumPy array. So this is the definition of the independent variable, and then label will hold the output values as in the dependent variable, whether the person is diabetic or not. So for the particular value of input, whether the person is diabetic or not is holded by the label. We have just reshaped the output variable. So this is the first step where we have defined a simple data set. Next is to define the hyperparameters. As I told, the hyperparameters will be the weights and the bias term. The weights and the bias term, I'll run this. The weight and the bias term are the random functions that the neural network needs to it needs to predict. So what we have used here is random function, which is used to predict 3 weights. 3 cross 1 is the matrix size. It will predict 3 values, one each for input W1, W2, W3 for X1, X2, and X3. And then we need to define one bias term to add on. And then we have defined the learning rate to be 0.05. What we have done in the starting is we have defined random.seed. So random.seed is one function of random function where I run this multiple times, but still the randomness will remain same based on the seed value. So we'll see to the values of weights and bias. I'll print weights and bias and see why seed is important in this. So as we can see here, we have 3 weights which the random function has predicted. One is 0.37, 0.95, 0.73. And then we have a bias term using a random function which is 0.59. making sure that I keep random.seed. I run this function, I run this particular cell multiple times till the random values remains the same, because I don't need to change the random value every time I execute. I want the neural network to change the weight value when it go back after calculating the back propagation. So my multiple running shouldn't affect the randomness of the weight and the bias. So that is the reason we use random.seed. So if we do not use random.seed and run the program, we can see that it provides different values for each run. So 0.15, 0.6. So we are getting different values, which I don't need because I want the artificial neural network to make the changes to weights and bias and not running it on the system. And changing the seed value can be anything. It is random. I can keep any seed value. It is nothing but labeling the particular random value. Say 25, I run it, I get different set, and this set will remain in the label 25. And if I want the old value, I can again change it to 42, which gives back me the same old value 0.37. Though it is random, the seed value of 42 will hold these values. So that is defining the hyperparameter and making sure that we do not change weights and bias, and the actual neural network does it. The step 3 was to define the activation function and its derivative. In our case, it was sigmoid function. So looking into the basic mathematical formula of sigmoid function, we'll define a function called sigmoid, and we know it is 1 divided by 1 plus e power minus x. So we have defined it, and this is the derivative of the same sigmoid function in the simplest form. So after that, the main step is training our model. We need to train our model to the number of iteration. So the number of iteration is trial and error until we get a minimum error value. So we can define it for 100 or 1000 or 20,000, but more the number of times the ANN runs, more accurate, less is the cost function. Next is the feed forward phase that we have seen. We have seen 2 steps in feed forward phase and then 2 steps in back propagation phase. So the first step in the feed forward was to do the dot product of the input feature set as the input and the weights that the ANN has predicted and add the bias, random bias value to it. So this was the first step of the feed forward phase, and we have seen why we have added bias value. Next was to pass it through an activation function. So here we have sigmoid function, which we defined earlier. So we are passing the dot product through the sigmoid function so that the values are squeezed in between 0 and 1. Next is step 1 of the back propagation. The step 1 was to find the cost function. So this is the cost function, that is finding the error between the actual and the predicted value. We know that the predicted values is stored in Z after passing it through the sigmoid function. And then the label that we have defined earlier has the actual output value. So error here will give me the difference between the actual and the predicted value. We'll print the error for each loop and see how the error gets decreased. Next, the second step of back propagation. This is the most important. We have seen that root. Okay. We need to differentiate the cost function. So that is what we have seen. We need to differentiate the cost function, and we were using the gradient descent algorithm. So here, instead of differentiating the whole function at once, we'll use the chain rule of differentiation. Firstly, we'll find the derivative of the cost function. We will first find the derivative of the cost function with respect to the predicted value, then the predicted value with respect to the Z, and then we will find the dz by d omega. Okay. what we are trying to do here is we need to find partial differentiation of cost function. So we have divided the whole thing into, first differentiate the cost function with respect to the predicted value, and then with respect to dz, predicted with respect to dz, and then dz with respect to d omega. So this as a whole, if it's visible. So what we were to find is dj by d omega. So what we will find here is d cost, that is dj by d omega. We'll split this whole thing using chain rule. That is, we'll first find d cost by d predicted, differentiation of the predicted value, I mean cost value with respect to the predicted value. And then we'll use differentiation of the predicted with respect to dz that we have calculated. We have calculated z by passing it through the sigmoid function, and then we will do dz by d omega. So this is for the gradient descent algorithm which we have seen, that is differentiation of the cost function. So we have divided this into three parts, where we'll be first calculating d cost by d predicted. So d cost by d predicted will basically be the error itself. So if you look into the mean square error, we'll have the predicted minus the actual value, the whole square. So when we differentiate it, we get twice of the predicted minus the actual value. So if we ignore the constant, this d cost by d predicted is basically the error itself. And then d predicted by dz will be to pass the d predicted to the differentiation of z. So we know z was the sigmoid function. So we'll pass it directly through the sigmoid derivative function that we have defined earlier. So that will give differentiation of the predicted value. And then we have dz by d omega. So differentiation of z with respect to omega will be nothing but the input value. So when we differentiate this, we get the input. This is the input value. So the total differentiation will be the cost into predicted into the d predicted by dz, and then we have to multiply the input. So firstly we will do the transpose of the input value, and then multiply all the three. What we have done here is multiplied all the three. So z delta, which has these two functions, and then the input, and then we know we need to multiply it by the learning rate alpha. So we will multiply it with the learning rate alpha, and then I will write it. W is equals to, that is what we have seen, W minus alpha into the derivative, I mean dj by d omega. This is what we have seen. So we have calculated this using chain rule, and then we have alpha, and then we have used the shorthand notation here that tells weights is equals to weights minus alpha into the differentiation. Then this will complete the gradient descent algorithm, and then we will also update the value of bias based on the z delta value. So what we are changing through each loop is nothing but the weight and the bias value. So what we have studied in the theory, the same thing we have implemented using this. And then so we'll run this algorithm. What we can see here is the error is decreasing in each loop. So as we can see in the starting, the error is 1.1, and as the loop continues, we can see that the error decreases to the smallest value 0.0, and at the end of the loop the error would have been so less that it is very much approximated to 0. So that is the reason we run more number of loops. So if we decrease the number of loops, say to around, instead of 20,000 I change it to only 200, then we have some finite error in the end. As we can see here, it is 0.016, which is still a finite value. So to avoid that, we increase the number of loops. To increase the number of loops, it's just the trial and error method where we find out the number of loops required to minimize the error. So once this is done and the error is minimized, the weights and bias would have the values such that the loss is minimum. So what we do is, now that it has learned the values of weight and bias, we will start making the prediction. So we define a value of input, say 101, that is the person is smoking, does exercise, and then let us see the result. So what our result will actually be, we need to take the input and then dot product it with the weight that the ANN has learned using that 20,000 loop, add the bias term and pass it through the sigmoid function. Sigmoid function is to squeeze it between 0 and 1, and then we print the result. So when we run this, we see that the input output is very close to 0. That is, the output says the person is not obese. And we see, let us see for 0, 0, 0, because we have added the bias term. If the person isn't smoking, nor obese, nor does exercise, then if the ANN is to predict the output, it says the person is not diabetic. So if it was not for the case of bias, then the weight value would have always been 0 for every iteration. So let us try it for all the three. So it is, if the person is smoking as well as obese and does some exercise, the value of being diabetic is 0.99. That is very close to 1. So this is the most simplest neural network. We can compare this result with the data set that we have taken. So let us take a value from the data set. So let me try it for 0, 1, 0. I'll try it for this 0, 1, 0 and see whether it predicts whether he's diabetic. So 0, 1, 0, then run. If the value is close to 0.9, that is 1, tells it is diabetic. So this is the most basic neural network that we have tried to build from scratch. And a real neural network would be more complex, more powerful, and it would have many multiple hidden layers. It would have multiple nodes in those hidden layers. And building such small or simple ANN from scratch will make us visualize how such big artificial neural network actually works. So that was the idea behind building it from scratch. So the actual flow of how an artificial neural network operates on can be visualized by when we actually build this ANN from scratch. So that is all from my end. So if you all have any questions, then you're free to ask.
Okay, audience, any questions? So Kirtana was showing a partial derivative when you do backpropagation, and it was implemented using low-level Python code. Audience, any questions? Okay, I guess we are not getting any questions. So thanks, Kirtana. Very nice session, clearly explained, and clean coding as well. Thank you, audience, for joining.
Thank you all.
And there are some good feedback coming on the chat channel, as you can see. Okay, thanks, Kirtana. Thank you, audience. You all have a good night or good day based on your time zone, and we'll see you in our future webinars. Thank you all.
Thank you.